Be it resolved that this Senate calls on the government to immediately review the Education Tax Act of 1983 with a view to relieving workers earning below 20.
Senator Brown,
Did someone just speak?
Well, since you didn't hear, continue, Senator Brown.
He came unto his own, and his own received him not. Jah Rastafari.
Major Dvnce presents to you Heart of the World. This prolific album is both inspiring and uplifting. It captures the pain and joy of the people while advocating for rights and justice with tracks like Your Pain, No Mining, Warning, and title track Heart of the World. Play Jam Music by purchasing or streaming the Heart of the World album on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, and all digital platforms. Heart of the World by Major Dvnce, produced by Jam Music Enterprise and Stereotype Studio.
Verily, verily, I said unto you, that is imperial majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, is Christ, the conquering lion of Judah has prevailed. Jamaica is the heart of the world. We beat life. Reggae is the soul of the world. We teach life. Jamaica is the blood of the world. Produce the greatest life.
Bless up ABR family and viewers. Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Anisabel Rose. And in this one, bangarang in our Senate today, where we seen the opposition Senator Lambert Brown today standing up and moving a resolution to end abusive contract work scheme and calling for the government to urgently review the outdated 1983 Education Tax Act. He says it's time to tear down systems that oppress and build up fairness for all. And for quite some time now, we saw last year where contract workers, mainly from the tourism sector, crying out of unfair treatment, crying out that, they're being paid in Jamaican dollars when the employers are collecting in US dollars. They spoke of unfair treatment as to they can't even drink little water on the job. They can't even eat food on the job. And we've seen the many, restive protests, the whole heap of unrest, especially in the tourism sector, where the government brags and boasts that they're collecting how much 10 billion of tax. And what have they done for the hotel workers? What have they done for the contract workers? I am yet to hear. I am yet to see. And we've seen Lambert Brown speaking up on behalf of the contract workers. Even those in the craft market, the craft vendors, have been crying out that they are not being dealt with fairly, just the same. And just the other day, at a People's National Party town hall, we seen residents asking these questions of Mark Golding, and he did indeed answer, saying that they will have to review the law and come up with some collaborative plan between the employers and the employees so that they follow the law. And this government has nothing really to campaign on. And so at one point, while Lambert was speaking, one of the government senator, and it sounded like Marlon Morgan, him always have something to say except finding solutions. And so Lambert Brown responded to him and saying, I leave you to Andre Stevens. Because we know Partner Draw TV, hosted by Andre Stevens, have all of them file. And so Lambert, in a long talking, Lambert make him know, say, look here, I leave you to Andre Stevens. But may I make you hear this? In the meantime, please to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Thank you, President. I have two motions to move, and I assure the President that I will not describe anything in the way Senator Bunting described it the last time. Mr. President, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, I will move. Whereas in recent times, hundreds of Jamaican hotel workers have taken industrial action in protest against low wages and terms of conditions at work, and whereas one such term of employment highlighted by such strikes is the precarious, repeated fixed-term contracts of employment, and whereas such practice can be abusive and oppress workers not only in the tourism sector, but throughout other sections of our economy, and whereas our Labor Relations and Industrial Dispute Act, promulgated in 1975, provides that an industrial dispute can be over the engagement or non-engagement of a worker, which brings this egregious abuse of the contract work device into conflict with the spirit and intent of Jamaica labor laws. And whereas the egregious abuse of the contract work device is at variance with the decent work agenda of the International Labour Organization, and whereas different members of this Senate have from time to time called for action to arrest the spread of this colorable abuse of the contract work device, which undermine the establishment of good industrial relations practices. And be it resolved that this Senate expresses its abhorrence to the abuse of fixed-term contract by some employers in Jamaica, and be it further resolved that the Senate calls on the government to immediately review the relevant laws with the aim of protecting Jamaican workers from such oppressive contracts, and be it further resolved that the Senate appoints a select committee to consider and recommend possible legislative approaches to eliminate the abuse of the contract work device as a means of denying workers the full range of employment-related rights and job security to which they should be legally entitled, and with respect to which they need and deserve effective legal protection. Second motion, for which, Mr. President, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate I will move, goes as follows. Whereas 42 years ago, the Education Tax Act 1983 was passed as a part of the taxation measures of the then government, and whereas the proceeds of that tax was ostensibly for education purpose but was never used, and whereas the revenue from such taxes goes directly to the consolidated fund, and whereas the tax in reality is an income tax on workers and employers, and whereas this tax has to be paid by all eligible employees, including hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans earning minimum wages and others below the current PAYE tax threshold. And whereas the education tax is in reality a form of income tax, and whereas the provisions are in the current budget to increase PAYE tax threshold for people earning more than $32,700 per week, but no provisions are made for relief of hundreds of thousands of workers earning less than $20,000 per week. Be it resolved that this Senate calls on the government to immediately review the Education Tax Act of 1983 with a view to relieving workers earning below 20.
Senator Brown.
Did someone just speak?
Well, since you didn't hear, continue, Senator Brown.
I didn't hear it, so let me read the result. Be it resolved that the Senate calls on the government of Jamaica to immediately review the Education Tax Act of 1983 with a view to relieving workers earning below $20,000 per week from having to pay tax on their income. May it please you, Mr. President, I leave you to Andre Stevens. I leave you to Andre Stevens.
Now, these resolution filed by Lambert Brown makes perfect sense. We can't be taxing people who are getting less than 20,000 per 40-hour work week to pay this education tax, right? And we know the big boys them getting away. Some employers are not even paying these taxes for their workers. And so we want fairness at all levels. Not only some for pay and some getting away. So this outdated 1983, 40 odd years ago act needs to be reviewed. What says you, ABR family? Let us finish this discussion in the comment section. Riona say, do you agree with what Lambert is saying? Yes or no? Drop that in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. On the road to 30K, please help me to get there. The liking of the videos are free. Get this video to at least 5,000 likes. Stay tuned for more videos. Stay tuned for more updates. Big up on yourself.